Let's talk about multiplying polynomials. Now, what is a polynomial? It's basically a family of expression. You have the monomial, which is you have the binomial, and then you have the trinomial. Each piece is called a term. Anything past 3 terms, we just refer to it typically as a polynomial. But that's what a polynomial is. So let's talk about multiplying polynomials. We have the distribution of them. And I had a term there. So 3x times x squared plus 4x minus 1. Well, that's a distribution. So I'm going to multiply 3x. And by the way, when there's no exponent listed, it means it's to the first power. Times x squared plus 3x times 4x minus 3x. The reason why is that sign on that 1 times 1. I'm just slowing it down. So what I'm doing is I'm multiplying this to that to that. So the reason why I wrote the exponent on the 1 on the exponents, remember, previous video we said when exponents multiply, they add. So I wanted you to see them because 3x times x squared becomes 3x to the third. 1 plus 2. 3x times 4x, well, there's a 1 on that x. So 3 times 4 is 12, and x to the first times x to the first. The exponents add. And negative 3x times 1 gives me a negative 3x. So that is multiplying a monomial. And if that had been a binomial, we'd have done it the same way. So what if we multiply a binomial times a binomial? Well, we're still going to kind of distribute it, except each term in the first binomial we distribute to the second one. Now, the most common method that you hear is saying FOIL it. Now, what does FOIL mean? It stands for first, if I could spell, outer, inner, last. It is the steps of multiplying binomials. We want the first term times the first term. That is your first. So x to the first times x to the first gives me an x squared. All right, outer is the outer two most terms. It's this one and this one. So x times 2 is 2x. I is for inner. It's the innermost term. So negative 4 times x gives me a negative 4x. And the last, well, it's the last two terms. That's negative 4 times positive 2, and a negative times a positive is a negative, and 4 times 2 is 8. At this point, we cleaned up and we looked to see if there are any like terms, and the answer is yes. I have a 2x minus a 4x. Well, 2 minus 4 gives me a negative 2x. That is FOILing. All right, here's one for you to try. When you watch math videos, there's times you really should pause it and try it on your own and see if you can come up with the same answer. So we go, pause it. I'm assuming you've paused. If you haven't, okay. Once you're done, come back. I'm assuming at this point you're back. So first, x times x gives me x squared. Outer, x times negative 4 gives me negative 4x. Inner, 3 times x gives a positive 3x. And last, 3 times negative 4 gives me negative 12. We clean it up. Negative 4 plus 3 gives me a negative x, negative 1x. And then the other two terms drop. Not too bad, I hope. Let's look at one more scenario. Now, stop and think. What does that mean? Well, remember when we square numbers? Well, it means if I go 3 squared, it means 3 times 3. It says times 12. So when I square a binomial, it means we go binomial times itself. Now, a lot of students try to go x squared and then 3 squared. No, that means there's 2 binomials multiplying each other. All right, I'm sorry about that. So one method is we expand it out and we use the FOIL method. So x times x is x squared. You know, I'm going to move this up a little bit. So we end up with x squared. Outer gives me a 3x. Inner gives me a 3x. Last gives me a 9. When I cleaned it up, and this time I'm going to write to the side, these two pieces combine, I end up with x squared plus 6x plus 9. There's a reason why I'm doing this. There is another method that Pearson kind of refers to as the square of a binomial using the rule. Well, I always heard it was as square, double, square. Because here's why. We square the front. We double the second term. I say look at it this way. I know this is an exponent. I know that 2 is an exponent, but I'm going to cheat. I'm going to use it as a 2. So 2 times 3 is 6 times x gives us 6x. That's that middle one that I use the exponent as multiplication, as in multiplying by 2. The last thing I do is I square the back. That's the reason why I call it square, double, then square again. So 3 squared gives me 9. Notice the two answers are the same. I don't care which method. It's just I'm showing that because it's a trick that we do where we speed up the math. All right. That is a quick crash course on multiplying polynomials.